I remember a while ago researching the timing of Revelation 9 and specifically the abomination of desolation. And in my research, I've written about this. I found that most likely the abomination of desolation during the tribulation happens at the Day of Atonement. In the Day of Atonement ritual, it takes half an hour to complete the part that has to do with the Holy of Holies, the cleansing of that. Well, we know that the Antichrist is going to desecrate the temple, and there's silence in heaven for half an hour. Well, to me, I just put the pieces together, and I think that probably happens on the Day of Atonement. I don't know exactly, and he's going to desecrate it in some way, who knows how. But right after that, he kills the two witnesses, and then Revelation 9 happens. The bottomless pit opens. So there's been this question, we have Azazel, the scapegoat. We have the Antichrist and the desolation of abomination happening on the Day of Atonement. Right after that is the opening of the bottomless pit. So could CERN, with all of this goat imagery, with the Cernanos, Baphomet, all this goat imagery, could that possibly have something to do with the opening of the bottomless pit during the tribulation, if CERN is even still around at that time? If not, maybe some other particle collider or something. But it's led people to wonder that, and I think for good reason.
But somehow the symbols of evil that we think of as Christians have become infused into CERN.
Yeah, they even have a statue right in front.
Tell us about that.
Oh, man. So, it's called the Shiva Statue of Destruction. And basically, it's from Indian mythology. But when you look at it, it looks like Satan coming through a portal of flames. And in the article, I go through the whole story of what it actually means in the Indian epic, and it's this Nataraja dance, of this cosmic dance to destroy the universe, essentially, so it could be rebuilt again. And when you think about what the Antichrist comes to do, it basically destroying the world in a sense to rebuild it in his own image. I mean,
right.
The symbolism matches up really perfectly. And then, you look at the statue and it really looks like a satanic being coming right out of a fiery portal.
Now tell us about the goat head in its connection to CERN. Because
the main thing is going back to the Roman ruins that were found there, and how they connect Apollyon and Abaddon, but also the ancient false god Cernanos, who had it's a stag, but it's still the same kind of shape. That kind of had, it's a false fertility god in a sense. And then you can, there's direct connections from Cernanos to Baphomet, which in occult and a lot of pagan work, but mainly occult, is an important, really super evil deity, of course, to us, but very important to them. And so that all connects into modern day with the imagery that they have now. So very, very strange. Not a lot of Christian imagery going on there at CERN. It seems to be all satanic.
So you have a fertility god, and here in your article you mentioned the Cerne Abbas giant.
Yeah.
And you mention again the figure of the goat in connection with that symbology.
Yeah.
And as you go through this article, and by the way, it's definitely worth a read because it'll make a connection in your mind, going all the way back to the high priest sending the scapegoat into the wilderness. This is a story that has early origins, and it has an outcome because, as we know from the Bible, there's going to be an ultimate battle in the heavens.
That's right.
And the figure of the goat figures strongly into that battle.
Yeah, and then we even see, because we know who wins, Jesus obviously wins, and we see after that there's a separation between the followers of Jesus, those who were doing the right thing, the sheep, and then the goats. There's the sheep and the goat nation. So they have that moniker, they have that image of being goats because of who they followed, which was the Antichrist.
Now, what are they going to find if they find what they want to find at CERN? That is to say, there's been great hope among scientists to rise to the next level of physics.
Yeah, they've been talking about wanting to create some type of communication system to send particles into higher dimensions to see if anything talks back, and they have a whole system on how to do that. Yeah.
Hyperdimensional travel.
Yep,
Now-
and we know the only thing that's going to be messaging them back is going to be satanic, but they probably will have, they're liars, they'll probably have positive messages at first, we're of a higher dimension, we've just been waiting for you to ascend to this level, and we'll talk to you and guide you and everything. But I think really what they're going to find out, what they're actually talking to, is exactly what shows up in Revelation 9, that locust army.
Now, you mentioned the book of Jasher, and as one of the sources, when you talk about the goat, when you talk about the whole idea that surrounds this is a false religion.
Yeah.
And by the way, not too long ago, I don't remember exactly when, but there was a parade of costumed worshipers that marched near CERN. What were they marching for?
I think it was for the opening of the Gothard Tunnel. But that was like the excuse. But really, I think that they were just praising their pagan deities and stuff, and just wanted an excuse to do that.
They were praising the figure of Lucifer.
Oh yeah,
the goat.
Yep.
And you make a pretty good point in your article about that. You have to read this to get all the details. It's a very detailed article, but worth it because you can get a picture of what mankind is doing today to find redemption in ways other than the Lord Jesus Christ. And humanity is looking for redemption in all the wrong places.
That's right.
And I think your article is worth the read because it really points that out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's the main thing is these people, we have eternity in our hearts. We all know that there's something beyond this. Just intrinsically we know it. And these people are looking, just like you said, they're looking for the answers in the wrong places. It's good to have the questions, but the way that they're going about finding the answers is wrong. And a lot of the motivation there is because, well, if they discover higher dimensional entities, they don't care how people live their lives. But if they go to Christianity, they have to be accountable to God that actually does care about how they live their lives, and not a lot of people want to do that. They want to be essentially their own God, so they fall into these other pursuits, which really is just going to lead them to demons and fallen angels, unfortunately.
Now, we talk about CERN, C-E-R-N, which is an acronym that came from what in English reads as the French Council for European Nuclear Research, I guess. So, but in English it comes out CERN.
Yeah.
And the N stands for nuclear, I take it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what they're doing here, on a very high level, is looking, I think, for a new way to worship.
I agree. And they're using science to go about it, and it makes perfect sense that the Antichrist will help facilitate that even more in the future when the tribulation begins.
Now, what's happening now at CERN as we're talking?
The most recent headline that I saw was that cancer could soon be cured at places like CERN. And I kind of laughed because obviously cancer is a really horrible thing. I have a son that survived cancer. It was just 3 years of a horrible battle, and it's terrible. But a lot of times when scientists want to do something, they see it through rose-colored glasses. They'll present it in the most altruistic ways possible, like Elon Musk with the brain chip stuff. Well, it's going to give sight to the blind. It's going to give hearing to the deaf. And they're not looking at what else it could be doing. So now when I see a headline that says CERN might cure cancer, it's a red flag to me of like, okay, what's really going on though? This is the story they want us to believe. What's actually happening behind the scenes? And that's why I continue in this research, because I think there's a lot more going on there than we're aware of.
So we watch CERN, and you watch CERN very carefully, as sort of a magnifying glass of society at large. It focuses the beam down to where the top thinkers of the world gather together to try to find ways of bringing humanity up to a new level. And you could call it almost a form of worship.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you think about this communication system that they want to set up, and there have been plans about this for Over a decade. It's not a conspiracy theory. Brian Greene talked about it in a PBS I think it was PBS documentary years and years ago. They already have a way of doing it. The missing piece is gravitons. They need to learn how to manipulate gravitons, but I think they're really close to that. But yeah, when you think about what that really is, it's sending a message to a higher power. What is that if not prayer? And it's seeking their intelligence. It's seeking their guidance. What is that if not worship? So whether they know it or not, by doing this, they are going after the same false gods that humanity has always went after. They're just going about it in a roundabout kind of different way. They're using science to get there rather than religion and spirituality.
Or, in other words, science meets religion.
That's right.
CERN.